Aí, Pablo. Quero todo mundo feliz aqui, ó. Cadê? Cadê? Bom dia, gente. Bom dia, bom dia, bom dia.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's do it. Good morning. Father Haroldo always said, fear nothing, just love, joy and joy. Gente, que calor aqui dentro, né?
Henrique.
Tem alguma apresentação tão feliz com vocês?
Não, ainda não. Vamos dar Cleusa.
A Cleusa passou a apresentação dele?
Não, ainda não. Mas não se preocupa que na hora é você tranquilo.
O pendrive, alguma coisa? Mas entrega aqui ou não? Pendrive? Vocês não tem pendrive?
Não, mas se ela mandar pra mim, eu mando.
Bom dia,
Bom dia.
Um excelente evento do senhor, sucesso na missão. Deus abençoe, sempre.
Só alegria.
Obrigada, viu? Deu tudo certo. Obrigada pela motorista. É lindíssimo, é enorme. Bem arejado.
Mas tem alguma coisa?
Só tem aquilo lá, falei.
Marta, esse é meu irmão, ele vai te apresentar para o governador. Tudo bem? Prazer, tudo bem?
Banheiro, lá do lado de fora.
Tá certo, hein?
Tudo certo, Paulo?
Se ele precisar ir no banheiro.
Todos aí já, né?
Todo mundo aí. Eu apresento, ela me fala que ela é a Marta, secretária nacional de políticas de drogas.
Pablo, pode cortar. Corta aí que eu vou falar. Bom dia, pessoal.
Good morning, everyone. Now officially. Good morning, everyone. Are you well? After 9 events, this is the same one. We have an opening ceremony in the morning. So we start to test. We'll do it in the evening, at lunchtime, in the morning, and see what happens. We always have a script, but I can never follow it. But first of all, I'd like to say some things to you about these 4 days of work we'll have here. First of all, the entire program is in those panels. You also receive the program inside the bag In the back, there's a QR code in which we'll find all speakers, the time they will talk. This year, we are doing a crazy thing, which is to do an event at the same time in different venues. So here at the convention center, we'll have in the main auditorium, we have several panels, nearly 4 panels. Today we have 3 panels because we have the opening ceremony. So starting today until Friday, we'll be working. We have another auditorium with 160 seats. We'll have program there. Everything's described in the QR code. In addition, we have international courses. Here in the mezzanine, room 4, we have a course for young people. It's a Yaki course. It's our 2nd year in this course, and we have a record of participation of youth from the entire country. This course started yesterday, which is engaging young people to be leaders and for prevention. We have another room as well, which is by the governor's office. There are some international courses. They are one-day courses, but with a very rich content. In addition, we have the Forum of National Councils, which is occurring during 2 days, one day at the Palace Hotel, and the second one it will be here. At the Shelton Hotel, we'll have 2 days of a course aimed at primary school teachers. It's a prevention course by Aesop Greece. 2 days, there will be a parental skills course, which we held yesterday. We had very good feedback about it, and we're repeating this year. At the Firenze Hotel, we have a women's course. It's amazing. It's a course about treating women. It's something new here in Brazil, a 4-day course, which will take place, and we had a record of attendees. And at the Palladium Hotel, we had yesterday and we'll have today a prevention course aimed at police officers who work at schools and also communities near schools. And I think that's it. I'm even tired from all that talking. So let's go, you guys. Another thing, the City Hall made available for all conference participants who present their badge. You can get the public transportation for free. So you can ride through the entire city. And this year we have a larger lunch because Serra Negra is a very nice city. It's a beautiful city. I live in Campinas, but I always come here with my wife. We spent here New Year's Eve. I love Serra Negra. It's a very cozy town. It's a very nice town. So you guys, who are here, please go to the stores, go to the restaurants. We have here in the program, we have here some restaurants are giving discounts for the conference participants. Everything we can do to welcome you better, we are doing that. We are doing it. We also have a streaming through YouTube with our friend Gerson. So in between panels, we will have we will wait 10 minutes to create a web link, because when we create a web link, we can record a panel and make available for those who wish to watch again online. And we are also broadcasting in 3 languages: Portuguese, English, and Portuguese, so that in English and Spanish, so that international organizations can also watch what we are discussing here. Okay. So there are many partners and supporters. It's not possible to call everyone to come up here, but we have a panel right by the accreditation stall, and where you can find everyone's brand. So please take pictures, share your pictures, because these organizations have been working with us for such a long time, and it's very important to do that. A special thanks to our national speakers, international speakers, who come here and share their knowledge with us. They all do that voluntarily. Many of them, they cross the country coming from Greece, right? The other one from Slovenia. So 14 years of flight, and some of you got traffic from São Paulo to come here. So So thank you to our sponsors as well who are here and they have been working with us for a long time and they help us make this happen. Those who please visit the stalls, talk to people there. Everything is very nice. It's these stalls are very rich. Companies from different segments that can help you guys. Now, special thank you to the City Hall team. And excuse me, Vaguinho, thank you very much, Giuliano. Where's Giuliano? Raise your hand, please. He's our tourism secretary of the city. He put up with me this whole time, and that was not easy. I know. I asked him for things all the time, calling him on Saturdays. Thank you very much, Giuliano. Thank you very much to my team, which is led by Samuel and Giselle. It's a huge team of 5 people, but with a huge heart and who help you a lot and work a lot for you guys. And thank you very much for everyone who is here. Thank you very much, and a round of applause for everyone. Now we have Freemind is in its 12th anniversary. It seems like yesterday. We started in 2012 with Padre Haroldo, there in Padre Haroldo, Father Haroldo. So we have this, we edited a video, nearly 6-minute video, 30 seconds per year. So I ask you to watch it very attentively to understand our history and what we are building. Because what we are creating here, it's a spirit of unity. We know that we have people who have different points of view, but we try to put that aside for a greater good to help people. So people who really need our work. And sometimes we are in positions that help us to help people. So please watch this video. Is that everything is okay, Pablo? Okay, so please turn off the lights and let's watch the video. In 1 minute, the past of the Freemind mobilization, which has in its DNA scientific view and its soul a vision of faith, and it has the mission of promoting the spirit of unity. Far from being only a beautiful sentence, the spirit of unity works with good to fight evil. The evil does not have a body to be seen or fought. Evil works to divide peoples, divide families, and starting by dividing the individual, word that has a Latin origin, individuus, which precisely means undivisive. And that's how Freemind started. Freemind, the spirit of unity. Differently from the spirit of evil, Freemind is exactly the materialization of the most elevated spirit of union of people for a greater good. Our minds are free to seek the well-being of each one, the well-being of our families, and peace for all people. Welcome to the 9th International Freemind Congress, 2024 edition. Since the first moment, our mission was summarized into 5 words: helping people to help more people. And we are proud to say that Freemind Mobilization is celebrating its history of many battles and great achievements. Maybe more importantly here in Brazil, in view of problems with alcohol, drugs addiction, addiction in games. Until 2013, there was no event such as this one. We had this great first Elis Regina Auditorium in São Paulo, a success. we had found the right path. Today, and in the next 3 days, we will be together to fight evil and towards the same goal, to help people, more people. In this Congress and in the following year, we will be working in a constant process of evolution, the same mission of helping people help more people. Some partners, friends, and workers, sponsors, educators have been working with us since the first Congress. So, sorry, a problem occurred here with the video. That's what happened in Freemind. Don't worry, it's part of our show here. Gerson came here to make an adjustment, and he ended up turning off the video, but Pablo will help us and make an adjustment. Meanwhile, please turn on the lights, please. Thank you. While we make the adjustment, me and Dede, we always say that life helps us understand some mistakes we make, and we try to make things right. But something always encourages us to continue to follow this path. And we cannot forget of those who encouraged us in the past, in the beginning. And now at the end of this video, I will show you two people who, regardless of being people that think that things are right or wrong, they believed in us. And because of them, we are here today. Because in the past, we weren't anyone, and they believed in us. So please. So and sponsors, they are present since 2013, since the first Congress, all witnessing that year after year, the Freemind Congress is maturing, is growing, is evolving, and it's easy to notice through the themes. Let's remove drugs of the heads of youth and put them under discussion. One young man that is protagonist is worth 100 young people. Alcohol and other drugs for another world. Let's focus on prevention. Drugs, no legalization. Prevention, yes. Yes to prevention. Losing a future would be terrible. Protecting our young people from the drugs is our biggest commitment with the future. Together, we transform destinies. Our numbers from 2013 to 2023. And in this 9th International Congress, Freemind Congress, the theme is mission and omission of society. So we're promoting global dialogues, local solutions, drug addiction, and the discussion of drug addiction. So 9th International Congress, Freemind, the mission and omission of society.
Acende a luz para mim.
Turn on the lights, please. Thank you very much, everyone. We don't use 6-minute videos. 30 seconds, we think it's too long. Is it going to take too long? My children, if I send a message to them that's over 40 seconds, they say, Dad, I won't even listen. So you guys, please, on the screen, two people who really encouraged us in the beginning and helped us to get where we are today. So please, a round of applause to these two people here, Father Haroldo and Augusto Curry. Thank you. They're not from the field. What they're doing in this meeting, I never forget because it was my marriage anniversary, September 21st, 2012, at the Father Haroldo Institute. It was a Saturday. And since then, with Father Haroldo's and Augusto Curry's support, we are here today. We have learned a lot. We have learned a lot about scientific evidence, which is a new thing. Science of prevention is something that has been here 10, 20 years. And prevention science is research plus practice plus indicators that generate new research, new practices. And that's the process that must be followed. So we have learned a lot. So let's start. Let's start our opening ceremony. I'm going to call here 6 people to this stage, and they are representing all of you who are here, because actually we would like to do the opposite thing here. Everybody would be seated on stage and only 3 people watching, because you are very important to us. So now I'm going to call the Vice Governor, Felício Ramuth, Vice Governor of the state of São Paulo. A round of applause. He is a great friend and a great man. Now I'd like to call my dearest Marta, which I met and knocked on her door various times. I'm very, very happy for you being here. A round of applause to Marta Rodrigues de Assis Machado, our National Secretary for Policies about Drugs and Assets Management. And Jimena Calaus. She's a great friend. She's representing international organizations. She's the chief of the unit of the Commission, Inter-American Commission for the Control of Drug Abuse. You're welcome, Jimena. A round of applause for her. Let's continue. The person who was the beginning of Dedé understanding this process. Because I don't know if you know the story, but Dedé was stopped by a street dweller in São Paulo. And during that, he discovered that the guy was a teacher who was on the street because he was a drug addict, and Dedé wanted to do something. And he reached the Aliança de Misericórdia. You have the founder of that place, Father João Henrique. Aliança de Misericórdia, they help people, homeless people, every day, and it's 26 units, and now they have a big project, which is the City Ramin, the City of Mercy. And also representing our mayor. The mayor's not here because there was an election in which he only have 75% of votes, so a lot of people voted him, and he welcomed us. He offered all these spaces for us so that we could have this event. And a friend of mine, President Chair Wagner da Silva da Buono, who is the chair of the local House of Representatives. And finally, my hermano, Dedé Martelli, my brother, my youngest brother. Thank you very much for being here. You can sit, please. Have you given the microphone here? Okay. So now I'll give the floor first to Dedé.
I'm going to talk from here. First to welcome each one of you. And the word is gratitude. gratefulness for you to being here and believing not in the Congress or in our mission, but believing in those who you serve, who you help, who you give their lives back to. As Paulo said, and he was very happy in his talk, bro, you deserve to be here. And you deserve to be in a beautiful place, which I know for sure Father João Henrique was reserved for each one of you in heaven, because you save lives. And saving lives, even if it's only one life, I learned this with Father Haroldo Felicio, is a big deal. And being able to be here with you guys, walking with you, contributing with you, participating with you, for us is great joy. And much more than that, gives us the spiritual possibility of saying that we're searching for our place in heaven. What I can say, Marta, is about the beginning. And the beginning was a great inspiration of the Holy Spirit and of God. Wow, I was looking back, all the congresses, so many things crossed my mind, so many hardship that we have endured to come here. And not only come and do the first, but the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh Congress and so on. I'd like to give an anecdote that happened with me right after this homeless person that I encountered. I went home, I saw the pictures of my children, the pictures that are still, my house has changed, the pictures are the same. And when I joined home after the 6 hours I stayed with this homeless guy, the word that I gave God, the word that I preached to God was gratitude, gratefulness for my children. I didn't understand any of this, but God wanted me that at that day I had a meeting scheduled with a Jewish guy, Felicio, you know, whose name is called Arturo Paulo. Artur participates a lot with us, helps us a lot till today. He's starting to believe that Jesus resuscitated, and we cried a lot at that meeting, and we said, let's do something, Felicio. So then we gathered 8 more friends, and after gathering these 8 friends, we noticed that we didn't understand any of this. We were just willing to help. And then someone said, oh, I know this guy that from Vale do Paraíba, Dunga, of Canção Nova. He was from Canção Nova. Now he's at Rede Vida. And I called Duga and said, Duga, let's meet for a coffee. I'd like to talk to you a bit. So we chatted, Dunga and I. You know, Marta, I told him the entire story, that we gathered a group of friends that were willing to do something. We didn't know exactly what. And then I asked Dunga, who can I contact? And Dunga got this piece of paper and wrote the names. And then he said, look, you have to talk about this topic. Father João Henrique, Father Hans, Father Haroldo, Fry Hans, Father Haroldo, 2 ADAs. And these people are the people that can tell you more about this topic. So I got this piece of paper, folded it, put it in my pocket, and was decided to contact them. And Duga told me, look, if you are able to gather everyone to this cause, we're going to rob hell. That's what he said. And I said, so prepare for the robbery, because that's what we're going to do. And that's the beginning of a crusade. Without knowing what to do, without any idea of our actions, but in our heart, really wanting to help people, which is the desire that each one of you have in your heart. The difference between the 2 of us and you guys is very simple at that time. You know what you do to help people. We did not know. That's the main difference. That's simple. But we believed in God, in the inspiration that the Holy Spirit gave us, in the power. And what we noticed when I went to talk to Father João Henrique, I clearly remember this. I did not know him, but I knew about his work in Botuquara. Just 1 minute. There are 2 cars that need to, and the plates GF3, B17 and FBQ5E34. There's 2 plates of a Honda and a Chevrolet. They need you to please remove these 2 cars because these 2 elderly women need to go to the doctor. Okay, we can proceed. So when we started talking, what we found out is that a very simple way and great opposition between science and faith, and that's a problem. And let's talk about the hard things, guys. It's a problem that still exists today, whether concealed or not. And within this principle, from the spiritual perspective, I thought, well, seeing both science and faith, they're in the same place. They both come from God. They come from the same place, from God. That's where our desire and inspiration originated of creating something that could have these 2 foundations represented, science and faith. And that's when these 2 people decided to help us. Father Haroldo, he was the foundation of faith, and we went there to talk to him because he was also written down on a piece of paper, and Augusto Cury, the foundation of science. So please understand that our desire is not to measure what each one can do about science and faith, but both impact in terms of drug addiction. That is Father Haroldo, and Augusto Cury impact regarding his background. So to convey this message, no matter if through faith or science, what matters is that life is saved. That simple. It's that simple. That was the simple way of a person that did not understand, that gave us the desire to want to start working on this. Do good, no matter to whom, and the way that God wants it. Today, we have in our Congress scientific evidences being discussed. Well, maybe the only place in the world that does this, maybe. And we have important figures of faith that helps understand that what a human being cannot do, he has to help someone else, ask someone else to help him or her. If you are not able to say no, ask God to help you say no. So that's the division. In us, we have this division. Each one of us, including me, has this little side that, if we take into consideration, shouldn't even be here at this moment talking about this. Everyone has this side in them. We don't tell other people. Maybe the impacts that we further do not reach people, but deep down inside, each one of us has to struggle to say that what divides us internally does not divide us in society, and make this union of governments, sectors, people are able to build the power of this union, which is what we believe. I cannot say that many people because that would be very unfair, because I see so many people here that have helped us since the beginning. I just want to ask God that he is able to give my brother Paulo the power that he needs to continue in his disciplined and strong way. We were playing now that we were joking around now because Gisele, who works with us, said, wow, at least you're there on the picture. And my brother said, some people come ask us if we had a fight. And I said, no, we did not fight, because we didn't even see each other. Because when we see each other, we do fight a lot, because what we really want as brothers is for things to happen. And in 95% of the things that happen and that are good in Freemind, 95% is thanks to Paulo, Samuel, Gisele, and our team, which is a small team, but works very hard so that somehow we can deliver something to you. So this year specifically is the only thing I know. I'm seeing the video for the first time with you guys. I'm not ashamed of saying this. And since the beginning I have said, in the first Congress with 1,500 people in INB in São Paulo, I'm the one that knows the least about the topic drugs in this room, and I'm still this person, but I know one thing. I know that love, the love that moves each one of you, can make many people find a way, like that maths teacher was not able to find. We believe that in this room there are people that save several lives, and saving these lives is what matters. The rest, the divisions, the differences, the rest does not go into heaven. Love gets into heaven, the love that we practice. And Freemind is the cradle of love. Thank you so much, and may you have a great Congress. Thank you, bro. Vaguinho, my brother says I'm disciplined because I've been 1 hour checking my clock, going, come on, guys, come on, guys. Vaguinho, please. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen. Vaguinho? Yes, you can speak from there, no problem. I'll be short in my speech. It's with great honor that the municipal government of Serra Negra opens the 2024 Freemind Congress. I'd like to thank the organizers of this event that once more brings into light such an urgent and necessary topic, the inaction and action of society and the mission of society. I have to also mention the contribution of our mayor, whose vision and commitment have been the foundations for the growth of Serra Negra. Regarding also within on his behalf, I would like to say that Serra Negra has become a very dynamic stewardship to influence structure, infrastructure, and tourism, which has been essential to transform our town, Serra Negra, one of the main destinations of the countryside of São Paulo state. I'd like to also thank the panel here, composed of Felício Ramud, Vice Governor of São Paulo State, Marta Rodrigues de Assis Machado, the National Secretary of Policies on Drugs and Asset Management, Jimena Kalaski, the head for the Inter-American Commission for the Control of Drug Abuse, CICAD, Father João Henrique, the founder of Aliança de Misericórdia, José Eduardo Martinelli, who idealized Freemind mobilization, and they help for the continuous progress of our state and country. We have been living times of transformations and challenges, intense challenges. The intense abuse of alcohol, substances, digital games, digital assets, and the increase in drugs such as e-cigarettes are problems we cannot ignore. The dependency in the different ways of life constitutes the several ways destroys lives destructures families, break families, and weaken our communities. The slogan of this event, which is beyond doing something, is a scream of urgency for entire society. By hosting this Congress, the municipal government of Serra Negra reinsures its commitment of being a center for discussions and transforming actions. This international event places our town within the map of global discussions on dependencies and public health, which and challenge us to be leaders in facing this topic by delivering and bringing concrete solutions to be applied not only here but in the entire country and in the world. This event being in Serra Negra makes Serra Negra be in the international circuit of tourism, which reinforces our destination as a tourist place, which is composed of natural beauty, culture, and development. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite each one of you to know the several tourist attractions we have to offer here. Our city has touristic routes which have been carefully developed to offer leisure to our visitors. These routes are true beauties of Serra Negra. The best of Serra Negra are in it. Food, history, hospitality, and natural beauty. We believe that tourism is an important leverage for economic growth of this town, bringing opportunities, fostering development of several areas. Thank you everyone that has contributed to make this Congress happen. And once more, welcome to Serra Negra. May this edition of Freemind be marked by reflections that are founded and that lead to brave decisions and concrete actions. Thank you everyone for being here. I wish you a great event. Thank you, Vaguinho.
Father João Henrique, please. He's short, but you have no idea. Yeah, I'm dangerous. God bless you all. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for being bold, Paulo and Dede, to raise an army of brothers and sisters who believe in values that we can achieve. I'm Italian. I was born in a small island in Italy, a wonderful island called Sardinia. It's beautiful. My friend, a businessman here, told me, "Come on, you were born in Sardinia, where I spend my vacation. You live in Cracolândia in São Paulo." I told him, "For you to wake up. That's a sign for you to wake up, because it's up to you, first of all, to take on this mission. We cannot omit ourselves." I've never thought about founding a community. I do not consider a founder of anything, but I try not to sink what I do. So, what happens in life? Since I was a young person in Italy, I understood that what I spent for my Italian cappuccino and brioche at Rome saved the life of one children in Brazil. Since then, when I was 18, I chose to live in poverty and understand that what is left in my life is necessary to save other brothers and sisters. So then I arrived in Brazil when I was 29. I didn't have a large belly. My beard was not white. And I understood that it was fundamental not to be an omissive person. In my church, there were children sleeping on the sidewalk. And what I thought, Pope Francis says we do not count poor people, we hug poor people. And I embraced these children, and they saved my life, and they changed my life. One of them said, I want to leave this life I'm leading. and he called me an uncle, and I thought I nearly arrived in Brazil, and I already have a nephew. And there's something I want to teach you. Do like this with your hand, and then you say, "Ayo." Tell to the one next to you, "Ayo." You know that means ayo. Don't lose time. Don't stand still. Life is short, and we must live it intensely. And when I met these children, I couldn't sleep well anymore in my bed as the priest of that low-income neighborhood church, and I understood that my life was no longer mine. That's how I lost my life. And someone asks me, "Did you, are you, you're so old?" No, I don't get old. I'm consumed with joy. I'm consumed with my mission. Pope Leon III said, "The mission of the good is their cause." So, see, one of the dangers we live here today, this damn polarization, there are no good people on one side and bad on the other side. Dad spoke well. Inside our heart, we have goodness and we also have evilness. And we have to wake the good. We have to wake goodness up in the hearts of people. A businessman came here in a helicopter where we are building the Bahamian city. Because when we started to work with these children and youth, we have this Alliance of Mercy movement. And now we have 1 million people per year in many different cities in Brazil and 8 countries outside Brazil. And I could never imagine that from a small and afraid person, together with Father Maria Antonello, Maria Paula, who started this adventure with me, we could reach so many people. And I tell you, ayo, you can make a difference and not be indifferent in view of the situation of so many brothers and sisters who suffer. What God can make, it's marvelous. Someone told me that he was killing himself, and he was feeling that his life was sinking in alcohol and drugs, because Cracolândia is not only in the center of São Paulo, it's also in Brasilia. I visit many politicians, and I see the poverty in the hearts of many brothers and sisters. It's in the middle of businessmen. It's in the hearts of everyone. And we must live a life in which we recycle everything, because we have to recycle the garbage that exists in our soul. And that depends, and that will change the world. And that depends on each one of us. A businessman telling me about his experience, he said that at that moment he felt that God awakened his heart. And that man sold his apartment in São Paulo, his luxury cars and luxury watches, and started to preach and started to work. He entered a bus and talked, and he preaches, and that's how we reach millions of people. We have to think what each one can do. The saddest thing that can happen in our lives is to spend our life in vain. Martin Luther King used to say, "I'm most afraid of the silence of the good than the cry of the evil." But there are no bad people or good people. We must awaken our heart. Awaken in our heart this strength that's capable of changing society. We must believe that our lives can make a difference. I'm afraid of passing by a poor person and not see that person. The poor man that the deaf saw and changed his life. Because they are the protagonists of the story. They are the center of the story, not the margins of the story. When we place the poor people at the center, as Jesus did, our history changes. The history of humanity changes. Because there's no greater happiness than giving life. So brothers and sisters, we're not going to solve all these drug-related problems. We're not going to solve that, but we can change our history. And and through changing our history, we can become source of hope for so many people. The Alliance, after we started to welcome people from the streets and work for their recovery, we saw a new challenge. after their recovery, many of them do not have where to go. They do not have families. So we are trying to dream, but we don't have strength. So I began this city Ramin without a blanket to cover myself the first night because we live in poverty and faith. But we believe that this project of city, this new dream, this particular new dream, it's a pilot project, it's a new project. I'm presenting it to the government as well because together we can make a difference. And alone we won't reach anything. We won't achieve anything. It's an eco city. In this city that is filled with the garbage that we deposit, in which human life is reduced to garbage. We can recycle life, we can recycle nature. So my colleague here, the architect Aristides, he's working in this eco village. A round of applause for him, please, because he dreamed with us when we did not have money to pay for his salary. We have here Pia Fernando. Please stand up. He's been helping us since Aliança de Misericórdia started. He trusted us when we didn't have anything. We started sleeping on the floor, no beds. I remember the first boy we received after the first night. He showed me a knife. He said to me, "I have a problem. I have to drink human blood." I have never heard that. And he said, "I'm here to cut you." I don't know what's happening here, not with my strength. No problem, boy, you are well like that. It was a boy who lived in a terrible addiction since he was a child. He was raped with sheep's milk, and his mother was not a good person. Now he's a good person. He's rescued and he's married. And since I've been working with homeless people, I was threatened with eternal life. But I don't know, we cannot love without hurt. That's Mother Teresa said. Mother Teresa said that. I'd like to invite you all to dream big. We can do more. Brazil can be truly an inspiration for humanity. I believe in Brazil. I'm Italian. And in Brazil there's a project of God, a dream of God for a new civilization. Brothers and sisters, it's beautiful to see what each one of you can offer. We started out with nothing and we have achieved so many people, so much, because there's a virus worse than COVID, which is the virus of mercy. It's contagious. We can fill the hearts of many people with it. And it's worth making our life dedicated to people. So I'd like to ask the Lord to free us from indifference that kills, that frees us from this ability that we have to get used to everything. And when we get used to anything, when we do that, we'll die slowly, poisoned by selfishness and indifference. And we lose our only life. And moving away from polarization, it's inside our hearts there's a battle. We all have good in ourselves, and we also have a huge part that we must run away from as well. We look at politicians with sympathy, we look at brothers and sisters with sympathy, try to awaken in them that part in them in which there is justice. And we look at brothers and sisters from other religions as well with sympathy, because everyone, each person is capable of God. And we all have a hole the size of God, as Dostoevsky, a great Russian writer, used to say. There's a hole, and no drug can fill it. No alcohol can fill that hole. Now we will end talking about an experience. When we began Aliança once in Praça da Sé Square, in front of the metro stop, there was a man, and we go to these missions on the street with many young people. Most people who work with us are young people. And when we went there, that man was in front of the station, the metro station, and many people were passing by, but no one looked at the man, and he was dying. That man was dying. He was covered with worms, lices. He looked like a human zoo, and he looked at us and said, I've lived like an animal. I've like to die like a son of God. Please help me." We called the police. The police did not arrive. We called for an ambulance. It did not arrive either. We got our van. We got him and took him, put them in and took him to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, he was clean in a clean bed, and he was dying. He looked at me and said, "Thank you," because for once in my life I felt looked by someone and loved by someone. Brothers and sisters, our indifferent skills. Please, God, give us the grace of being able to play our little part, to do our little thing, and that will be multiplied, just like He multiplied fish and bread. Let's be the children of the reign of God. Let's be simple, poor and happy, because there's no greater joy than giving life to brothers and sisters. Thank you. Thank you very much, Father João Henrique. Now I'd like to call Jimena. Please, you have the floor. Thank you very much. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Portuñol. Thank you. Well, my name is Jimena Kalavsky. I'm here representing OSICAD, which our logo is over there, which is the main agency of the American region. It's a political agency in where we discuss strategies to fight drugs in the region. We have guidance that conducts the work in the Americas. So I'm here to present all the international agencies that are here. So in the name of all these international agencies, thank you very much for the invitation. And I also greet all the authorities who are here with us today. And here, CICAD has commissioned representatives and has many representatives in many countries. Martha Machado is the representative of Brazil. And Brazil this year has a very important role to play because it's chairing the expert group in demand reduction. So we hold this once a year, and the main experts from different countries, they discuss the themes that are the most important themes, or they are trending, and that we must pay attention in our everyday work. So we are talking about the new synthetic drugs, of course, and Brazil has also placed a discussion on the table, a discussion that's very important, which has to do with work with racial differences, all the social determinants that also are involved and are also a risk factor for substance abuse. So we reached the agreement that we must work on inequalities, and not only economic inequalities, but also cultural inequalities and racial inequalities as well. Because we know that effectively there are risk factors that are distributed differently according to what place of the population a person is, and what part and what culture it belongs to. So of course, the drug issue, it crosses all social classes, of course, and all countries. The work we develop is also supporting the work of civil society, and that's why we have been supporting for a long time the work conducted by Freemind, and it's beautiful to see that each year I know that's a lot of effort you put into this, and And each year you are able to hold this Congress and this meeting because probably most of us, we are moved by love and passion and concern with this theme, because we also need to have tools that shows evidence, that show that this works or that works. So always the resources available are little, and we must be effective and efficient in achieving the results and the responses we wish to achieve. And we have been supporting the work of Freemind, of civil society in general, and we are present in this Congress with, we have three workshops, one of youth, women, and of faith-based organizations. And we are also have been working for a long time in Latin America with therapeutic communities, helping precisely to leverage the development of good practices, training, always based on evidence and especially based on human rights. So I will talk about an experience here. Everyone is talking about, is making a confession, right? Nearly here, so I'm going to share an experience. When I was studying psychology, I went to spend Christmas on the streets with the homeless people. And we were we were walking around, and we went to talk to people, to homeless people, and I was a couple of hours talking to an alcoholic who slept outside the Cathedral of Santiago. I'm from Chile, so he was outside the Santiago Cathedral. And I was very impressed because he was around 35 years old, but he looked much older because of the physical deterioration and result of the alcohol consumption. And he told me that despite he came from a family with resources, he had gone to university, he was sleeping on the streets. He had lost everything and was sleeping on the streets. He was homeless. And looking back, that inspired me in different ways. It inspired me to know precisely how to I wanted to understand from the psychology point of view, how could that happen? How could a person who had many opportunities in his life, he lost everything and was now homeless? And even though he didn't, despite of that, he didn't stop using alcohol. And that inspired me to the work that I did. I began to work on therapeutic communities. I worked with families in clinics and the drug commission of my country, and now I'm working on an international agency. Oh my God. Sorry. So I believe that spaces like this one are very important it's very important that we maintain these spaces. It's very important to train people. It's very important to participate in these spaces and also share successful or not successful experiences that we have. So congratulations for the organization, and I wish you a very good Congress. I know you will have one. Thank you very much.
Marta, please. Now you. Thank you, Paulo. Thank you, Brothers Martelli. It's an honor, great honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to talk after such wise people. I come from the federal government on behalf of Justice Lewandowski, President Lula. We assumed government last year with the topic union and construction. I think what you talked about at the beginning was beautiful. I think Freemind does have this mission of uniting a very big group of people. I here see on the audience, people that I work with, talk to, dialogue, advisors, state advisors on drugs, people that make important work in their organizations, government, peers. I think, Paulo, that Freemind has this this vocation of uniting people that think differently, act differently, each one act in a different way in their place in the world, in their worldview, but with a common goal, which is to think the problem of drugs and putting people in the center. I think what unites us is this perspective on human beings, individuals, and this good purpose of looking at the person, where no matter where we stand, and see how much this person has suffered. And in a country that is so unequal like country, the abuse of drug addiction is connected to vulnerabilities, violences that people suffer in their life. I think that looking at this human being with this generosity of understanding that people are the product of vulnerabilities, structural inequalities, structural violences, and that the problem of substance is associated to these things. And we have to see how to take care of this person. So we also unite to look from a perspective of the care, of how we will help this person, how we will work to elevate the dignity. You know, I think the account of the person that at the deathbed had this moment of dignity is a very important account, because this is our daily work to gradually bring back citizenship, dignity, access rights. Sometimes a person that is not even documented. Sometimes we have to help people to get their documents done, to be able to enroll in a social protection program, and then enroll in the network. This person that is not well seen, that has a difficult relationship with the state institutions, because many times they're not well received. So these several mediators that help this person even to access their rights that the state give. This help is essential. So I'd like to reinforce this message that the work of each one of you and that of all of us is essential, so that we can in fact think about the citizenship of these people and access the problem of substance abuse. Sometimes, many times, we have to work the citizenship of this person in several dimensions to theme this topic of drug abuse, so the person becomes engaged in a project of wanting and going after a new life. So I'm at your disposal. The federal government is willing to help. Paulo knows this. This year we brought a team that is outside with our material, our prevention programs. Prevention is one of our main flags. So international literature has been saying for a long while that each dollar invested in prevention saves $10 in the future with health and social protection programs. So as public managers, and with evidence-based, that prevention works, that it's worth investing in prevention, we are obliged to put prevention as one of the main flags of our management. It's a very solid investment to work with children, adolescents, the youth at extreme vulnerability, and work with families to help them think of their parental skills. So we've been working with several towns and partners here at the audience, and new potential partners. Our idea is to be able to broadly distribute. We have been training in partnership with CICAD, and we have assumed the leadership of the prevention group at CICAD, so that we can show how committed we are. We're holding this event in Brazil. I really like your slogan, helping people help other people. I really like this slogan. We always think of sustainability, how we will train and leave a legacy and train people so that they're skilled to train other people. So now we're dedicated to train a group of trainers so that they can go back to their Brazilian states and replicate their training so that we can actually multiplicate the word of prevention, and always looking within the dimension of social reinsertion, with this human view, with this view of accessing human rights. And it's within the umbrella of the Ministry of Justice, and that's very important to democratize justice. I think that's a path that will allow us to reach this topic of drug abuse, of substances. We listened to several accounts. This morning, I came with a colleague of mine who kindly brought me here. We were talking a lot about how grateful we are and how much our work satisfies us of having people that have been recovered and are working with prevention and replicating the work, and their generosity, the generosity they received from each and every one of you. So I'm very grateful and I admire you a lot, and I hope it's a great event and that we are able to discuss with generosity our ideas. Thank you. Thank you, Marta. Felicio, please, you may take the floor. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Paulo. Hi, Dede. Congratulations for another year of Freemind. It's an honor to participate. I've been with you in some editions, being here to learn with this group of specialists and several specialists, not only national but international specialists, and take the opportunity to welcome everyone to the state of São Paulo. If you come from another state, you will get to know the beauties of São Paulo, and Serra Negra is one of these beauties. And so Vaguinho, our deputy mayor, Marta from the federal government, Jimena, our specialist from the Inter-American Commission for the Control of Drug Abuse, Eliana Borges, our coordinator of policies on drugs of São Paulo State, our father João Henrique. I had the pleasure to get to know Cidade Romi, the architecture and construction of the habitational units. I know that the state of São Paulo will be in this partnership to transform this dream in reality. I'd like to also thank our next panel. After this panel, that's why I'll be very brief in my words, very short in my words, so you won't get sick of me, because I will be in the next panel, and say hello, Elaine, Claudia Leite, and Gleuda. They will all be in the next panel. And thank Paulo and Dede, because many years ago you left in action and acted. And here in the state of São Paulo, we have the opportunity through congresses and our team of specialists to transform the lives of peoples. When we arrived, when we assumed office, we saw that the state did not have an actual effective policy on drugs. It would be great in the country, actually, if the practices became law. But here, it's the opposite. The laws sometimes is hard to become a practice. That's why in Brazil, we have laws that will become effective and laws that people will not, make effective. So, and I'd like to thank our Governor Tarcísio, and Tarcísio asked us to implement this law as quickly as possible. I'm one of the policymakers of a law on drugs that we elaborated in 2009, and next panel I will detail this law we elaborated. And I'd like to thank Freemind, which is always looking beyond and now is discussing digital dependency, digital addiction, gambling addiction, online games addiction, and the federal government has this idea of regulating these activities. I have a 19-year-old daughter. She used to smoke e-cigarettes, had a problem in her lungs, which became worse because of the e-cigarette smoking. I'm very happy that she's not smoking that anymore after this problem she had. So all these topics are very current and show what we have to do in the future. Also, thank you so much for the invitation. The government of the state of São Paulo is present here, not only on the stands, but also with our specialist, Leuda, which will be in the next panel, and materials and panels. So I hope this Congress is very successful, that we can bring great deal of information in this Congress and make them happen, so that each one of us in our mission, and all missions are important. My mission today with the governor, Tarcísio, is to make public policies happen in the state of São Paulo. I know that each one of you has an important mission to transform the lives of peoples to the better. Please count with us, the government of São Paulo. As I say, when we are born, we are dependent. We depend on our parents to feed. And when we become adults, we think we're independent, but we're all interdependent. We depend on each other. And public policy is not different from that. That's why we come to a Congress and we see that gathers specialists, entities, state government, federal government that were well represented, international entities, public power of the executive municipal authority. That's when we see we're in the right track. So I'd like to invite each and every one of us and of you that together we can build this town, the state, and the country of our dreams without any inaction and with a lot of action. Thank you, Felicio. Well, because we were running late, let's already begin with a panel of public policies with Felicio. I need my copy here, Marta, please. Thank you. This is Freemind. So I'd like to conclude the opening panel and thank Jimena, Dede, Vaguinho, Father João Henrique, and ask Marta and Felicio to remain on stage because we're now starting the public policy panel. A great round of applause for them, please. Well then, guys, beginning the panel of public policies, we always have this dynamics that we have a moderator that is going to moderate the panel. So I'd like to call to stage the moderator of our panel, Gleuda Apolinário, my friend Gleuda. I'm going to pick her from the stage. Great. Gleuda, I'm giving you this panel. It's 20 minutes, running 20 minutes late, and I'm sorry for that. Gleuda will be the moderator. She will take my place as moderator. She will call the other participants. Thank you, dear. Good morning, everyone. Let's begin our first panel. So here we're on the stage with our Vice Governor Felicio, with Marta. Now please come on stage. Claudia Leite, my friend also, he's here with us. She's the coordinator of project of the Nucleus of Research on Vulnerability and Health on the Federal University of Minas Gerais. Welcome, Claudia. Eliane also, is Eliane Juscelini, who currently is the Secretary of Management and Development of People of the City of Campinas, a great friend and partner of ours. So, in our panel, as you have noticed, we have public managers. The idea here of Paulo, when he decided to create this congress this year, he said, let's create a panel specific on public policies. And we thought that it was a good idea that would treat public policies within its specialty. So this panel is called Public Policies, Prevention, Treatment, and Social Reinsertion, where we will have the introductions, the presentations of each panelist showing their experience with public policies. And I'm going to begin the panel with Claudia. She will give a presentation. Do you have a presentation with you, Claudia? Please, Claudia, the floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to first thank Paolo Martelli, Dede Martelli, for the invitation. It's my 4th year here in Freemind, and it's always a great joy to be here in such important event. I'd like to also thank the Vice Governor of São Paulo, Felício Ramucci. I had the opportunity to last year participate with him in another panel. It was an enriching experience. Also, hi Marta, also hi Eliane and Gleuda, who I have known for quite a while, and all of you guys, representatives of national entities, international entities, therapeutic communities, CAPS, CRAS, CREAS, all the entities that are part of this policy on drugs. Initially, I'd like to say that the use of alcohol and other drugs is one of the most complex topics and crucial topics of our times. It's a public policy problem that many times dealt with in a wrong way as a moral problem that needs to be exhaustively discussed as we're doing today. Discussed to be better understood and not having this stigma on it, on the people that suffer with this. While many people discuss about the legal aspects of this issue, not much is said about the impact on drugs on justice, public safety, public security, health, education, in several social problems, the high levels of mortality of several of people. Now today I'm going to talk a bit about the impact of drugs on public policies and what is the role of the government, of the state, and what is the role of society. So to begin, it's important to say, should I continue?
As I said, there drug is related to different policies: justice, sports, public safety. Yes, sports. Sports is impacted by drugs. No, Claudia, no. Sports are prevention. It's one of the main prevention tools. We have their doping testing, which is impacted by drugs in sports. And then you have culture, urban policies, economic development, transportation and traffic, work and income, human rights. We forget the impact of drugs on these various public policies. So, um, for instance, on education, the use of alcohol and drugs causes low learning, school dropout, in public safety, crimes against women, domestic violence, all kinds of crimes, drug trafficking, health. The use of alcohol and other drugs are associated to mental and physical illnesses. Suicide, the second cause of suicide is chemical addiction. So justice, the use of alcohol and other drugs is associated to various events that crowd the judicial system and the prison system. For you to have an idea, in Minas Gerais there was a census in 2022. 48% of people who were incarcerated, who are in the system, come from drug use. So work and income. We know that the use of alcohol and other drugs is responsible for people leaving work, loss of work. It does overload the pension system, so homelessness, problems with families, family dissolution, economic development. It's related to tax evasion, uh, transit. So death and traffic, one of the main reasons is the use of drugs. Urban policies. When we talk about Cracolândia, crackland, we have cracklands in each and every city. When we talk about crackland, we know that it also affects urban policies. Not only the fact of that situation of these people who are there facing addiction, but it affects the urban side of the city. It brings problems to businesses. We have human rights. The use of alcohol and drugs is related to violation of human rights. Drugs users, they often are victims or authors of human rights violations. Cultures, the use of drugs and alcohol and alcohol and other drugs cause illnesses and deaths in different people. And sports, as I say, the doping and which leads to careers being ended. And when we talk about that, we must show evidence, because policies about drugs, or even better, all public policies must always be based on scientific evidence. And when I talk about this impact of drugs, I'd like to bring here some data. Wait a second, you guys, it will work. These data demonstrate this impact. So the last World Report on Drugs of UNODC, which was published in 2027 or 2024, indicates that over 12 billion people used drugs in 2022, a 20% increase in relation to the previous decade. So we know that with the new drugs, synthetic drugs, opioids, and cannabis, marijuana, which is the most largely consumed in the world, then we have opioids, then cocaine, and ecstasy. Another important data I brought here, without judging, but the impact of the legalization of cannabis. In January, and 27 jurisdictions of the U.S. had legalized the production and commercialization of cannabis for non-medicinal use. So what happened? Hospitalizations related to issues related to the cannabis and the proportion of people with suicidal attempts and mental illnesses have increased in Canada and the U.S., especially among youth and adults. The Pan American Organization of Health, according to it, one of the main causes of violence against women is the use of alcohol, abuse of alcohol, both by the perpetrators and the victims. So violence against women, which had a big increase over the past years. Would you please help me to pass through the slides? Thank you. Great. Now, Glilda is much better than me on that. I'm terrible. So here we can see the Brazilian annual report on public safety, which show an increase in all types of violence against women. As I said, one of the main causes is the abuse of alcohol and other drugs. Domestic violence, 9.8%, psychological violence, 33.8%, threats, gender-based murders. So all types of violence against women have increased, rape, etc. Next slide, please. Research by UNB analyzes the relationship between suicide and the use of drugs. So they conducted a study in which 4 out of 10 people who commit suicide use psychoactive substances, especially alcohol, before they take their own lives. They kill themselves. So this is a study from UNB which investigated behavioral data and social demographic data with the purpose of creating prevention public policies. I'm bringing all of this data to show you because we talk a lot. Oh, we need public policies, but what then? We must understand the impact of drugs on the various public policies everywhere. So studies indicate that rates in suicide and self-harm increase in Brazil. So that rate increased 6% in Brazil in 1 year from 2011 to 2023, and notifications due to self-harm from 10 to 24 years old increased 29%. And we know that the second cause of suicide is drug addiction. The federal government, the Ministry of Human Rights and Citizenship, launched a report on homeless people, a very important report, and it says that the main reasons for homelessness, one of them are issues related to alcoholism and use of drugs. We know that homelessness is a very complex issue. The vice governor and the governor of São Paulo is doing a great job with Hub. Congratulations. And we know that's very complex, but we also know that this issue is related, a huge relationship. It's hugely related to the use of drugs and alcohol. Next slide, please. Alcohol in traffic kills 1.2 Brazilian per hour, says a study, according to a study. This is a study from the Center for Information on Health and Alcohol. It's from 2023. According to the document, over 10,000 people have lost their lives due to the mix of alcohol and driving, the combination of alcohol and driving, which is an average of 1.2 person dying per hour. Do you have an idea of what that is? Next slide, please. Another study by CISA, how the abuse of alcohol worsens people's relationship with work. The International Labor Organization says that 20 to 25% of accidents in the workplace involve people under the effect of drugs. And a large percentage are dependent on alcohol, and 25% are users at the point of risk. And what's the risk of drinking alcohol? We talk about drugs, but we have drugs, legal drugs, and we have illegal drugs. So we talk about alcohol, tobacco, and the consumption of alcohol contributed for 2.6 million deaths in the entire world last year, according to the World Health Organization report of 2022. So nearly 64,000 deaths were related to self-mutilation, violence, or death in traffic. Others were related to communicable diseases, tuberculosis, etc. And alcohol causes at least of seven types of cancer, including intestine and breast cancer. The magazine Valore says that alcohol is one of the causes of school dropout among teenagers. So that's the impact of drugs on education. Paris Olympics has a record of anti-doping tests. So during that period, the International Testing Agency identified over 40 doping violations. It seems that's little, but it's not. We know, I mean, the Paris Olympics, and we still have doping cases. Next, please. More women die due to alcohol consumption over the last decade. The number of women dying per 1,000 inhabitants has increased 7.5% between 2010 and 2021. That's a publication by the Center of Information on Health and Alcohol. Data from the prison system. Senapen. Drug trafficking is the reason that leads most people to prison in Brazil. There are other crimes that may also have been related to alcohol and other drugs. Next. In the construction of criminal reincidents, we identified as the most crime in cases in which people are defendants. Crimes involving the use and drug trafficking. The use and the trafficking of drugs. Next, please. Now we ask ourselves, what's the role of public authorities and society? We cannot forget that the role is not of public authorities, it's our role as well. We cannot close our eyes to these problems, because what we see is that, especially in this field of drugs, we only open our eyes when it's close to us. When there's a relative who's a user, or a relative is victim of a car crash because of another person who abused the use of alcohol. So we must understand that it's a joint action between society and public authorities. It's no use doing wonderful prevention programs based on evidence, with monitoring, evaluation. If we have there the alcohol industry leading our young people to start drinking earlier and earlier, it's no use talking about prevention when we talked about gambling. There's no use talking about gambling prevention if we have sponsors of soccer teams. Who are these gambling apps? Things are not matching. So society has a fundamental role to play in that. It's not only about complaining about public authorities. We must think outside the box. We must end our prejudices. The people who have issues with drug substance, it's not a problem of character, it's a disease. So we must move away from prejudice, ideologies, and think that, yes, we have a fundamental role to play. Just like the public authorities and society, we must play our part. And the role of public authorities. Everybody knows that we need to have effective, efficient, and integrated public policies. I'm saying that because I've already worked in the federal government and the state government. Today, I'm working at the Minas Gerais Federal University. In order to have effective, efficient, integrated policies related to reducing the demand for drugs, which is prevention, based on evidence, as I said, to implement, monitor, follow, evaluate. Prevention is not only give a lecture. Prevention is a science. It must have studies involved. It must be monitored, because otherwise it will have an opposite effect. So it's something that's very serious, right, Jimena? Jimena knows that. Vivi as well knows that. She works with prevention. So we must have prevention programs. The federal government has been doing that very, very well through different programs, international programs that have already been adapted to the Brazilian reality, because this is extremely important. As I said, it's important not to result in the opposite effect. So we need actions for care, prevention. And when I say that, it's also based on evidence. And with a wide, comprehensive network. When I talked here to people from therapeutic communities, CAPs, CRAS, we must move away from ideologies. The more equipment available, the more you will offer more opportunities to those people. Oh, but therapeutic communities don't work. Have you ever been to one? Oh, but CASP doesn't work. Really? Is it true? Is that true? Have you ever been to one? I know all these spaces, and I can tell you that all of them work. Of course, we have problems. Everywhere there are problems. But what we have to do is to solve these problems and support entities, structures that do that work based on evidence and work that makes a difference in people's lives. So when we talk about network, care, treatment, we must have a comprehensive network with all available equipment. Hospitals, CRAPs and CRAS, CREAS, help groups. Yes, we do need a robust network because it's a very complex problem. Social reinsertion. It's not enough to only prevent and treat. That person has to go back to society. And what we need to do that, income generation, job and income generation. So that's why social reinsertion is fundamental in this process of caring and treating. And we cannot forget that when we talk about reducing demand, we must talk about research. Today, I am in the Minas Gerais Federal University Unit for Research. Without research, we don't do anything. Research means evidence. So if we are going to create policies, anti-drug policies, we need research. We need research, we need data, because when someone says, oh, therapeutic communities, so research offers substantiation for public policies and training as well. We must train people that are well trained. For sure they will offer the best service for that citizen, for that person who needs. I'm almost at the end. Next slide, please. So I wanted to bring this here because it must be a policy that involves the entire network. The public health system, SUAS, CISNAD, drug policies, public safety, and we need to work together. Because if we don't work in an integrated manner, we won't move forward. Next slide. Next, please. So, and how do we do that? Because I said that the role of the public authorities, of public authority, is to offer all of that. And I brought this for us to reflect. When we say that we must have demand reduction of supply reduction policies, let's think about the budget for anti-drug policy. Is it enough for public policies? Do you think it's enough, the budget that's available? I'd like to hear from you. No. So, first thing, the role of public authorities is to provide enough resources for public policies. Is it easy? Of course not. If it were easy, we would not be here. It's hard, as I said. It's a complex issue. So we need enough budget. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the federal government. I'm talking only our state government. I'm talking about the city, about cities. And we must have a specific agency for anti-drugs. If there's no managing agency, if we don't have a specific budget allocated for that, then the anti-drug policies will not work. And there are many municipalities in which this does not exist, but it's very important to have a managing agency. So we must have that, such as we have the National Secretariat, as we have the State Secretariat in São Paulo, in Minas, in other states. Strengthened and valued and integrated anti-drug policy. Why do I say that? We know that the anti-drug policy, every 4 years, it's in one different place. So, citizenship, health, in Minas you have sports.
So it's not equal to a social assistance policy, a health policy. Do you think it's a valued policy, a policy that is valued? What do you think? It's a policy that it's like really down the shelf, the bottom of the shelf of priorities. I was the last person to talk because I was Subsecretary of Policy on Drugs, because the other policies are more important. So we need policy that is valued, that is integrated. Health needs to understand therapeutic communities all has an important role: social assistance, public security, human rights, sports, culture. Everything has to be integrated into this policy, otherwise it won't work, or it works badly, poorly. Opening to social participation that is active. Municipal councils, state councils really need to be effective, need to have a voice. The councils cannot only just to be there pro forma, like Dr. Aloysio is here and says, who was a councilman for Minas Gerais state and also for the federal government. We need councils that are effective, that have a voice. As I said, that is not just pro forma. Opportunities on health, safety, employment, income. We need to give opportunities to people. If we do not give opportunities to people, nothing matters. Doesn't matter if you have budget, public policies, if you don't have these other things. We goes to these places of great vulnerability. The child will get into drug trafficking. And why does the child get into drug trafficking? Because he or she doesn't have an opportunity. The only opportunity that is given this person, this child, is trafficking. We need opportunities. What about the role of society? Society, as I said, needs to understand that it's responsible. It needs to understand what is a policy on drugs. It has to eliminate all stigma, understand that it's a health problem. It has to leave the box and understand the problem of the other person. Understand make aware, open their mind, because we are society. So, and I'm sure that all of you here work with policies, or has someone or know someone with a problem. So society needs to understand that it is a problem, society. Help and solidarity. You need to be solidary with people, support prevention programs, give the example, be a role model, a participative and propositive way of being and acting in the policy on drugs, showing that it does have a role, that it can make a difference. We know that when we have a strong society, we change things. We can change anything we want when our society is strong. Mobilization for change. Mobilizing. Today we're here at an event of Freemind mobilization, because mobilization is important. Is important for us to change a certain policy, to have voice. If we do not become, involved, engaged, and then I'm nobody. But if I do something with other people, with the vice governor, with Marta, Glenda, then I'm someone. Now I'll be fast. Policy on drugs. Minas Gerais State is a pioneer in the policy on drugs. We have a network that was created in 2005 in a partnership between the state government of Minas Gerais and the therapeutic communities and prevention entities. So Minas was a pioneer in this. Then we created this state policy on drugs. So we have a state law on drugs. We have integrated chamber panel on drugs. So we have a very important framework in the state of Minas Gerais for things to happen. Next one, please. Next one, because I'm not in the Minas government, I'm in the Federal University of Minas Gerais, and the Federal University of Minas Gerais created this partnership with the state government, CRIAD, which works in the hospital of the clinics of the University of Minas Gerais. This is great progress. The Center of Reference on Drugs is in a hospital, a federal hospital in the university, and that's great progress. And this partnership with the Federal University of Minas Gerais involves research, technical social mobilization, customer service, technical advisory, and technical and scientific information. So CREAGE does all of this in partnership with the Federal University of Minas Gerais. So we have a reference council also. Next one, please. This is NABI's group. I don't know if you ever heard of it, which is a vaccine for dependency on cocaine and crack. I'm part of this team that is testing this Center of State Reference of the Hospital of Clinics and working with this solid network that I talked about. Next one, please. We also created this customer service through WhatsApp, because sometimes it's difficult for the person to go to CREAGE to be seen. But we have WhatsApp now, which has grown significantly because it's easier for the person to ask for help, like through WhatsApp sometimes. SISMID with the Minas System on Information on Drugs in Minas Gerais. All of this in partnership with the University of Minas Gerais. So everything you want to know about asset management, you can click on the website and you will find it. If you want to know about all health equipment of Minas Gerais, you can go into this website and find it. And here we also wanted to get into the social networks, and through government it was difficult, so we made this partnership. Now we have Tamo Junto, which is a program where we pass on information on prevention, treatment, care. Please enter Tamo Junto Instagram, like it, and support us. This is a society role. Next one, guys. Thank you. I think I took over the time of my colleague a bit. We're only going to change the scenario with the support, with joint work, with the just legislative, executive, judiciary, civil society organizations. That's the only way we're going to actually and effectively at least try to find a path to solution of such complex programs that is drug addiction, substance addiction. Thank you so much. So now the floor is goes to Eliane so she can make her presentation. Yes, Gleuda will be our assistant now. Good morning. It's a pleasure to share this moment with you here. I'd like to thank the invitation. Our mayor, Dani Saad, also welcomes. On behalf of him, I appreciate being here. Claudia Leite, Marta, all of you. And thank the opportunity of being here with you guys, sharing this such important panel. Thank you, Paulo. Thank you, Gisele and Samuel. In Campinas, we have had a very enriching partnership with the Freemind mobilization, and I'm going to give you guys a summarized presentation. It's okay if it's out of configuration. I'm the municipal secretary of the Management and Development of People. Eliane Jocelyn, what are you doing here then? Well, what has management of people have to do with policy on drugs? Well, first of all, I'm a public servant of the municipal government of Campinas. I love being a public servant. I've been working as a public servant for Campinas for 26 years. I think serving is extremely important. Public serving is extremely important, especially when we're talking about the prevention and treatment of drugs. And I have been in my career, I worked at the Human Rights Department, and the mayor gave me this challenge, which I accepted, which I saw several ways and possibilities of dialoguing with social policies and management of people. And we have noticed that in Campinas, by assuming this new department, that we had problems regarding absenteeism, productivity problems, lack of motivation problems, several problems regarding integration, just like in any city or town. Because we're never 7 million public servants in Brazil, and nearly 600,000 of them are in the state of São Paulo. So it's extremely important that we re-signify public service, that we put public service and public servants as core, also to prevent the use of substances, alcohol and other drugs, for two reasons. First of all, because this huge number of people, of public servants, is in São Paulo, in Campinas, we're nearly 17,000 public servants. This huge number of public servants, they are a microcosm of a micro-universe of society. What happens in outside in society is reflected also in public service, because we're multidimensional, multicultural. We witness the scaling up of violence and several problems of challenges regarding mental health. We witness and live several changes due to the rapid change in the world regarding information, and sometimes we're just lost in our personal, professional acts. And how are we going to talk about prevention and the actions of the state? I'm talking about the state in itself, not only federal or state as a whole. If we don't resignify public service, this resignify a strategic vision, because public servants need to be well to care for others. So the slogan here, as said, is help people, help more people. This is the reality. This should be the reality of our institutions, whether public or private. So we began work in 2021 when the mayor Dario first assumed, trying to find a new organizational culture in the municipal government of Campinas. So we took the HR office. We have 4 departments today. So we have a department which was called Human Resources Department, and talking with the mayor and through our experience, based on our experience and this view that we have of being multidimensional, multicultural, we came to the conclusion that people are not resources. Resource is a chair where our panelists are sitting down. A microphone is a resource. AI is a resource. But people are not resources. People, they participate in an institution. They contribute in an institution to search for and seek results for the population of our city that want effective services that are quality and effective and broad-ranged services. So we have to broken the paradigm of human resources and bring a new paradigm where we manage people and act for their development, so that we can understand the central role of the state in social policies, economic development policies, and then the topic that we're talking about today, how we act toward prevention and creation of more and better public policies that reflect a reduction of the problems that drugs and other addictions cause, and that are on the agenda also. So we need methodologies for everything, right? We need to know where we are, where we're heading, and we need a method. Claudia talked a lot about methods, science. We need science, data, also in public service. We need to get to know our institutions, whether public or private. And we elected some guidelines, some methods, improving selection process, career development, also improving quality of life and work environment, and improving human development processes. These 2 last guidelines are completely related to what we're talking about today. Next slide. And why is that? Because based on discussions on quality of life at work and at work relationships, we are able to identify what are the difficulties related to the public servants in productivity, in lack of motivation, in absenteeism, innovation, so that we can reduce that and make this environment be more collaborative and joint efforts and between society and public power, and also make us foster public servants in training to make them take care of themselves, and so they can care for the population. We have 2 benefits. We will care for our public servants, and we will make these public servants multipliers. And that's why we have this strategy of training. So we have continuous paths and tracks of programs on training regarding policy on drugs to lead to the improvement, expansions of public policies related to the topic. But because I'm here as a role of a people management secretary, we think a lot about what is the main difficulty that our public servants are having today within this topic, individually and collectively. And through our internal research, we noticed that the level of people that do not go to work is great due to the use of alcohol and other drugs. And we needed not only to foster public policies beyond the Campinas, but also have public policies in Campinas. So we have people that are well taken care of so they can care better for others. So that's why we created this program for the attention of health, psychosocial health for these public servants that have had these issues regarding social mental health. And this program is destined to these public servants that are suffering mentally and that are able to, and that we can take care of these public servants. We have specifically created the ELOS program, which is destined to public servants that make use of substances. And for example, ELOS wants to strengthen their families, strengthen the servers, and we have grown, and in partnership with the Freemind mobilization, we are doing this work where we are researching this topic with all public servants. And recently we promoted this research. Nearly 2,000 public servants answered our questionnaire so that we can guide this policy internally so we can have more effective results, make them go back to work, have these public servants access treatment, better talk, better dialogue with their families, and train these public servants so they can multiply this topic. Because then you will act in a work where you have a personal identification, and at the same time you make him committed so that he, in his role at the public service, has more inputs and more reasons to be a multiplier of preventions and treatments regarding policy on drugs.
We created a reinsertion and readaptation program because we needed to bring back these public servers. When they are sent to treatment, then they undergo psychological treatment, but then they need to have a safe return where that person feels productive and is able to execute his or her activities. So we created this program with professionals from various origins to help us. Program of life quality at work. We created a program called Lidera. It's a leadership program in management that, among different themes, also addresses the anti-drug policies, so that managers have tools to understand the need that these servants must be treated and cared for, and also trained so that they know about the importance for managers to know and authorize these servants to go to courses and training workshops. So you have a state that actually encourages dialogue and with society. Next, Protect Servant program, which is more related to women who are victims of domestic violence, because we know that these women servants that are victims of domestic violence, and we know that drugs and alcohol are directly related to that. So we cannot, we must include intersectorial aspects and etc., as Claudia said. So that's an issue that's present in our institutions. It's an important issue so that we are able to bring all these themes together without losing the ability to together build and review different policies. So this is an affirmative policy, and we have this intersectional gaze and other projects of our secretariat, which are also in dialogue with these ones. So in short, I'd like to highlight that strategic management of people within public institutions or private institutions, this management is fundamental for a more active and responsive and state government that has sectors that are valued and motivated, thinking also about a policy, public policy that will be much more effective and efficient. We cannot discuss anti-drugs policy without discussing a new internal organization of our institutions so that that will be reflected into our society. So thank you very much for this space. I talked very fast to leave time for other panelists. Thank you very much. Very nice. Here's your water as well. Well, now continuing our panel, we have here Vice Governor, my boss, so that you know, he will talk about our state policy. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for these two speakers. I'm not an expert in the field, but here I am as a spokesperson of effective policies of the government, state government. Gleuda is an expert of our team, so I hope I can make some contribution by showing the experience of the state of São Paulo. Okay, next. You can skip this one. Okay, first of all, guidelines. I will be very fast because by the end of each presentation, we'll talk about effective results. So here, the guidelines of the state anti-drugs policy, as I said, intersectoral. Of course, we must involve different secretariats of the state of São Paulo. I will talk about that later. Territorial issue. Today, we're going to zoom in here, the open scene of the use of the city of São Paulo in the central area. And I'd like to take benefit of the presence of so many experts and ask for your support. Since we started to work, of our work in São Paulo, we have been reinforcing to the press and experts the importance of looking at that situation of the city center and leave that stigma of crackland behind. The name we are using is the open usage scene. No one is there in a Disneyland or an amusement park of crack. People there are in a vulnerable situation and need the support from governments, and that's what we have been doing. So you will see during the entire presentation, you will not find the term crackland, but open scene of drug use. So São Paulo has been understanding this different and helping us. So since we have experts from the entire country, I ask for your help as well. And I like to tell you that our focus is only one, is to make these people become independent and autonomous. We have other terms that are used, such as damage reduction. For us, these terms are in the past. We want to look at the future by offering to these people the opportunity to become independent and autonomous. It is a way out. And also we think about a journey of care that will lead us to our goal. As Claudia said, regardless of the tools we can use, they all work as long as they are based on evidence, that they work, but we must avoid prejudice. Drug users already suffer a lot of prejudice, and we cannot take this prejudice to the tools that we use and to offer them the best journey and the best path. So we have this territorial focus, which is the SE, open use scene. So total transparency is also fundamental for our policy. And for the first time, you can follow, any citizen can monitor the crimes that are happening in the region and the amount of work of people who are today, last week, in that scene. And also we have newsletters. We have, when we arrived at the state government, I talked about the state policy on drugs, which up to that point was a law, was not regulated, but of course, there were work was being developed by the government and by the city and entities. But what we saw is that these actions were very important, but conducted without integration. They were not connected. The biggest example, it would be a good example is like an actor is all these people in a boat, but each one using the row in a different direction, each one rowing in a different direction. So the result, of course, we can make some progress, but not in the speed required, because it's a very serious problem. So we not only try to integrate the state, since we had many problems of secretariat not communicating with one another. We saw that in the city of São Paulo, entities working in these places and churches and help groups, as Claudia mentioned, they were very important for us to transform what was in paper and turn it into reality. Finally, it must be coordinated. And that's when I talk about collective meetings, the prevention committee. Next one. Now leaving guidelines and talking about strategic lines. So you have treatment, treatment offers, health. I'll give you some numbers later. Reducing supply. It's a very important legal system and public authorities. So when you welcome these people, and these are the tools to offer them help, and we have governance and also training and integration. When we talk about public security, today all police officers who work in the open scene of use, they are trained to do so, and they receive monthly compensation to work specifically on that place. How to approach in the correct manner, of course, separating who's criminal and who's a user in that scene. Finally, in that open scene, we are talking about a specific territory, but this work is developed in the entire state of São Paulo. And next year, we aim at taking these resources to the entire state. And our preventive actions are fundamental as well. Next one, strategic lines. We talk about offer and health, attention to health. We create a hub that attention to people who are in that situation. It's a 3-story building, but it does not look like a health location, a health institution. It reproduces as an assisted street in its ground floor. So the citizen leaves the unprotected street and enter a protected street. So the entrance it's similar to a street. So that person enters the hub, and we have the floors, which are the subway station, represent subway stations, but they are a bit different. So we have station Luz, Liberdade, Love. So actually, each department of that hub, each step of that journey, the person goes to these subway stations, which looks like an actual subway station, but they're called light, health, freedom. So we wanted to make, we didn't want it to look like a hospital environment. So in addition to that, of course, we expanded places for treatment. So we want to avoid prejudice. Many years ago, we talked about mental illness, when people were removed from from institutions. So, and that's extended to the drugs. So we cannot take people to all these referrals must be adequate for that type of patient. So it's a hub. You concentrate all these people there so that you can distribute later to your treatment network. So that's the role of the hub. We bring together different entities and churches, such as Aliança de Misericórdia and other churches and evangelical churches and Catholic churches. They also use drugs. Oh, I'm sorry. They also use the hubs as support. So, and we do the triage and we do tests. So you know that in therapeutic communities we have the missionaries who do that. Sometimes they do not have the necessary structure to do this triage or that testing. With all these exams, these tests. So we had to expand the number of hospitals available, the number of places of vacancies in hospitals, to admit these patients. So here we have these 6 reference hospitals and our approach protocol in these open scenes. It's not an easy mission, including inside the hospital. So when we do not have a standardized. We do not have a standardized protocol. We are building that, and we have had some progress because we want to ensure the same standard of care in all hospitals for detox of these patients. In this axis concerning reduction of supply, for those who go to the central area of São Paulo know that the issue of public safety has improved very much. We are investing a lot, the city hall and the state government, we had a decrease of theft in this area of over 50%. And so it was very important to invest in that and invest in intelligence. The center now has 2,000 cameras with intelligence, and they are all interconnected with the state government's databases. When we arrived, each secretariat was the owner of its data. And the most valuable thing we have today is information, is data. We had data from military police, civil police, the prison administration secretariat, but these institutions did not talk to each other, did not communicate, and now they are all integrated. In addition, we invested in men and women. We expanded the battalions, the police force, but there's a huge difference. Today, each type of operation that's conducted in the scene of usage, so in the Rua dos Protestantes, where we have that scene in the central region of São Paulo. In the morning, you will have 250 users, and at night, nearly 800 users in that street. So, but the number has already been 4,000, But more than that, we know the people who are there, who are the people who go there all the time, and the police know them, so that we can map out their profile. So when we arrived in the government, we looked for data and information, studies about what was going on in relation to the previously implemented policies, without any prejudice, ideology, or regarding the actions. We wanted to know what worked and what didn't work, so that we could use things that worked. To our surprise, what we found from the technical point of view was a study with nearly 60 people in the open usage scene, and data from that Lecuca research conducted by Unifesp. But it was a research. We didn't have a specific data, effective data. And then we noticed that any type of action that could be implemented there, think about that transparency actions, we had to keep a repository of data so that we could evaluate. And other managers could also have access and see what worked and what did not work. So all statistics today are publicly available. You can ask for the secretariat for them, and we can find the profile of the people who go to that scene, open scene of use. So to give you some data, 5% of women, 95% men, 60% of people who go there often in that open scene are not complying with judicial measures. Either they are waiting judgment, waiting trial, or they are in the semi-open regime and could not be there after 10 p.m. We already sent that information to the judicial system, and you know about the speed of the judicial system, but we are waiting anxiously to be able to send these people who are not complying with judicial measures. They must be to the correct place if it's proven that they are not complying with them. So we want to help them, help the legal system to identify these people with the GPS monitoring, the bracelet with the GPS, and they can return to the closed regime, closed prison regime. And we have here our therapeutic residences, which we have 10 units. We have 3 phases of therapeutic processes. The therapeutic houses we have in São Paulo, and we have therapeutic communities who are our partners. We increased the number of vacancies in these places. We have nearly 2,000 vacancies in our therapeutic communities who they are great partners. How the state does that? We have an entity that manages these therapeutic communities. So they follow the work they do and the goals they've accomplished, they've achieved. And there is a goal there. If the person remains in treatment, the community receives more in their compensation for offering treatment. And we have the prevention page, which is also associated to an entity, and it gives support to the family and to those who have already undergone that cycle of treatment. And it also helps families in prevention. For instance, they think there's someone in their home who is starting to use drugs and need counseling, need help. So our prevention spaces offer that service. Next. Management and governance. We have CONED, we have our state council on anti-drugs, we have community participation, we have the web link of what I talked about, transparency. If you enter the public safety secretariat, you can also have plenty of data. All our integrated protocol are there, and our evaluation of the public hubs. Next. And the actions specifically conducted there in the open scene. We have the territory that's very important, and we want to improve that territory. And in the central region of São Paulo, we had different places that offered food on the streets. For us, it was a big mistake. We think that people must have their dignity and eat in spaces, sitting down with the necessary proper place. So we substituted replacing giving food to people on the streets. We replaced places to which people go, sit down, and eat. So we expanded these types of restaurants, always offering dignified spaces where they could sit down far from the rain and the sun, and then with the proper hygiene. So we have these old, we went a lot to these old places in which there was these scrape yards, and many places that people exchanged drugs for scrape. They got copper wires and went to the scrape yard and exchanged it from like alcohol, for instance. So over 1,000 liters of corote, of alcohol, of a liquor, they exchanged for scrape. So, and other stolen products. So all these actions were conducted there as well. Remember that open scene, twice a day, the users are taken to a different place so that we can clean that space, and they go back so that they have a dignified space and more clean space, a cleaner space. So, and we have the place, there's much tourism over there and different trading places, businesses, and that we are improving the surrounding area. in the center of the city. I talk to business owners, I talk to dwellers of buildings to know what we can improve in relation to the territory of the central region. And if you ask for people who have businesses there, they say that the situation now is much better than what they faced 2 years ago. Finally, next slide.
So also regarding the reduction in demand, we identified that 10,000 people in prison that need to do the proof of life tests had to go to downtown every 3 months. Some have to go every month. To know if the person is a semi-open prison or not, they would go to the Barra Funda or downtown. Many of them didn't even have money for a bus to get there to these places. So we decided to create an innovative methodology with the São Paulo Court of Justice, and also the federal judiciary started doing this, which is to do the proof of life through an app without the former prisoner or current open system prisoner being able to do his proof of life without having to go to the places. So we're changing this to avoid this commute of 10,000 prisoners. And maybe being downtown, they could commit another crime also. So at least they can do it on the app now. So it improves the quality of life for people that are still in prison, and also ensuring that downtown does not have 10,000 people that sometimes have no condition to take the bus there or go back. Then 500 professionals in the area of education go to our schools, and our program, the Committee of Preventive Policies, with the support of the federal government, materials that the federal government has and that use all of them scientifically evidenced, and that we use in our prevention policy in schools. Here we have some results regarding public security and safety downtown. 10,000 more people that were detained. That is, who are these detained people? They were on the streets and had arrest warrants issued against them. So here we have the monitoring of the open scene of use in the operations we carry out. They are usually done during the night most of the times, where the concentration is highest, and each one of these bars are the operation and the time they happened. So we had 4,000 drug addict users and twice a year drones count or make an estimate of these users, and during the night we count them not by drone but each one of them and qualify each one of them. Here are the vacancies for serving these people, for lodging these people, or just for serving in a specific unit. And so we can expand and better serve demand. Here is the street of the hub. When you reach the hub, the building of our hub of care and policy on drugs, we have some decorative panels made by the artist Jean Rosa. Jean Rosa, he draws based on pictures of the city of São Paulo, very joyful drawings. Here is the space with all the care needed for this type of service. Ibirapuera transformed into a cake. This is the art of Jean. That room is called Ibirapuera room. Then Júlio Prestes is drawn, so we are very careful in decorating it. So the buildings Most of the times are crowd full of people, are busy. So we have had this hub for a year and a half, and this data is very important. And we serve 42,000 people in this hub in 1 year and a half. We screened 23,000 people. We have the CAPS hub customer service, 23,000 screened. 34,000 that were actually served in our hub. And based on the screening that you can see on the top, the 23,000 screenings, we had 10,000 users, patients that were forwarded to our specialized hospitals, 5,000 sent to the therapeutic community, and the remaining to our health equipment, and also to outpatient units. That's how we understand. We try to understand the background of the patient, and based on it, forward these patients to the best place that place that will be best for this patient. So here we have details of specialized hospitals, therapeutic communities, and here we have the weekly figures, and that one is the figures of users specifically. Figures on users specifically. Here is weekly. We see the evolution of the services we provide weekly. The hub also has lodging units for brief admissions, so where he will stay for 24 hours or 48 hours in the hub, and then he will be sent to the most appropriate equipment unit, because sometimes he's in crisis and needs to be served in the hub for a brief period and stay in the hub for a brief period. Here is the average of therapeutic communities and hospitals, as you can see, 182, 164. This is a weekly number, once again, of forwardings. And just to give you an idea, this is the weekly figures of forwardings to these places. So specialized hospitals, equipment, health equipment in general, and here we have the total number. Just to have an idea, in the city of São Paulo, in 2022, we forwarded 150 people for admissions. So you can see the difference. There's a great repressed demand that the system implemented by then did not understand admission as also an important path, or the lodging in therapeutic communities. So this understanding changed, and now we're qualifying even more these services to better treat in these units. So finally, something you know well, but before we implemented all these actions, we went to work with we went to talk and dialogue with entities, social society, and analyze experiences throughout the world. We have many of them throughout the world, especially in political. We just had the municipal election. Many people have these magical solutions for this type of problem, and there's no magical solution. The open scene of use is a problem throughout the world. No one found an effective solution yet, and we are forwarding with all the care needed in the state of São Paulo, especially in the city of São Paulo. And here we have several actions carried out throughout the world that we studied, and some of them are impossible to be made here based on our laws. For example, room for use. We cannot make this here based on our Brazilian laws, state laws. And it's not even a moment of discussing it. We would have to actually change the law, because it is not feasible as public policy to have rooms for use here in Brazil. So most of these public policies that are allowed here, according to our laws, are being applied also in the city of São Paulo and the state of São Paulo, though there is certain resistance of part of society with some of them. For example, zero tolerance to order perturbance, order chaos. No, this is still this faces resistance by part of the civil society. So Most of them were analyzed so that we can see what we could or not implement, such as disturbance, which is very resisted against. So it's a privilege for me to have been assigned by the governor Tarcísio to be the person that will coordinate with the municipal government the effective actions in the open scene of use. Please go talk to Gleuda so you can get to know these equipment and other equipment and the hub. Thank you for your attention. God bless you. Thank you, Felício. Thank you for the presentation. Now, Secretary Marta, your presentation on behalf of the federal government. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Gleuda. I learned a lot. Thank you. It's so good. It's difficult to talk after all that we have heard so far, and you know, and it's nearly lunch, so I'll provide a brief perspective of what we have been overview of what we have been doing regarding prevention. We launched this really large program in June this year, which is the CREA program, Prevention and Citizenship. We are working with prevention based on view, an integral view, thinking of risk factors and vulnerability that are factors we have to work with to prevent the use of substances, and also on the other side, protection factors. Thinking of prevention, how we learn through the programs based on evidence. So in general, working with risk and prevention factors, and on the other side, protection factors. So the idea is that we work with a CREA program with a large number of managers being trained, and also the implementation of some school programs, especially focused on the families and on the communities. The idea is that we work in partnership with the entities, that is with towns, cities, and states. And we are also creating a platform that viewed to promote information on prevention, data, courses, information on programs, material for programs, and also absorb interesting experiences that are being developed. So one of the things that we learn, despite the goodwill of so many people, not everything always works. So we need to expand. We have to broaden our attention to see what are the strategies that actually worked based on evidence. And as Claudia said, there are some things and some actions that lead to contrary effects. So we need to have a mechanism for people to send to the platform their methodologies, and we are able to analyze their methodologies, actions, and experiences, and through this create a great community of sharing on prevention. So there will be on this platform several initiatives, and also in the CREA program. So just to make things clearer, so the territories, how we can mobilize the territories, the actors around the topic of prevention. First was prevention for children and adolescents. That's the first axis. Now we're working with 3 programs, promoting on a large scale these programs. 2 are school programs, Elos and Tamo Junto, and the program Famílias Fortes. So we're working with these 3 programs in several towns, cities, states, to be able to actually reach in bulk the prevention programs in schools in partnership with education departments, so that we can train teachers for this. This is the first axis. So this is a bit of the overview of axis 1. Now axis 2, where we focus on youth. We have been focusing on youth in aggravated vulnerability. That is to think of the situations where the risk factors are preponderant. So we are working into social, educational perspectives, children and adolescents that are being monitored within a more complex program. For example, children and adolescents victims of violence, or that used substance in their lives. So it's a program that's within what we're working, within focus on youth, within the social educational dimension. That is, how will we train the workers in the area to deal with the problem of the use of substances, child protection departments, and it's within the Pronar Juventude, which is a child protection department that we have. Fica Vivo in Minas Gerais state, for example, we analyzed this program in depth. The experiences also of Pronuncium to think of a program that could actually offer a different type of life for the youth that are in and live in risk situations that are more vulnerable to the harassment of organized crime against them. So which is monitoring the youth through a multi-professional team to help them reconstruct their life projects, but also in a community dimension. That is the mobilization of community through cultural workshops, arts workshops, professional workshops, vocational workshops, and the youth also are monitored through federal institutes and are inserted educationally and in the labor market through programs, youth apprenticeships. And this is great focus again. We have several municipal managers, state managers, and our idea here is that we are able to expand the most we can these trainings and the promotion of these programs in the schools, in the assistance networks. So please come talk to us. We have a scheduled for the promoting of this in these territories, so that we can even advance and accelerate this process and our partnerships with states and cities and towns. We have been also working in a partnership that we're closing now with the Pan American Health Organization to think about alcohol and tobacco, so that we can have laws and experiences that are successful, and how can we expand the effectiveness of which is already successful. Especially regarding alcohol, we have several laws that need to be better complied with. We're working on this, and also e-cigarettes that is so preponderant on youth. That's also one of our folks. So we're thinking of campaigns to reach this public that is able to face such alluring demand. Youth is attracted toward e-cigarettes and all their flavors. How can we face this? How can we fight against this? That is something new that we are doing.
It's a campaign that is historically and worldwide successful. It's the Brazilian campaign regarding tobacco. So we are starting actions in this field, thinking about environmental prevention as well. So Dr. Claudia mentioned that, Felicio as well, programs that are realities at the international sphere, programs that have a large set of evidence, and so that can be adapted to the Brazilian reality, and also foster this type of work here in Brazil. In 2023, we did this a huge update work, and it's incredible to see how the world has changed in 10 years. We talked about the programs, the guidebooks of the programs. They spoke on compact discs, things that do not exist anymore. So we adapted all these programs, and we also introduced the ratio issue here. We work with them, public schools, teenagers and children. So we talk with them about racism, which has a large impact on teenagers and adolescents' mental health. So we are using these programs that are related to our reality, and we are resuming this project in large scale. So this community program is a new program, and we have been working with some researchers of the University of Santa Catarina, and it adds this component of the community component in the to train community leaders, and also seeing a community as a prevention environment as well. So we are working with a pilot project, which is a new program from the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, which is the service for prevention for children and adolescents. So the idea is to implement specific programs, and we are able to mobilize a network of services around the idea of prevention. If the services work in network, we are able to potentiate the effects of prevention. So that's a panorama I'd like to give here. Next slide. So we have the youth program. We are starting this year. We have 2,500 youth being catered to in the program. So one of the criticism related to previous works, previous programs of the federal government, was the quality of the education that was offered. Here we have an important partnership with federal institutions that help. Within Pronatec, they have a wide set of professional courses, so young people can think about the courses they want to take, and they have youth receive even a financial support throughout the entire program, and we monitor them to make sure these students, these young people, continue on the course, do not drop out. And this offers a high quality education to them. So it can also be flexible enough to include young people with different backgrounds. And of course, it's an element of depending on the background, is a risk factor. So we work a lot on prevention to avoid school dropout, and we focus on children up to 11 years old, precisely because it's an age which is very important. It's a turning point in terms of schooling. So we work before that to strengthen school bonds, strengthen community bonds, and prevent school dropout rates. So these students are at a risk situation. So we want to offer the opportunity of education even for those who do not have a linear path in education. So here in this one, we work with the idea of integral prevention. When we work with prevention, we do not work specifically to prevent use drugs or substances. We work strengthening the individual, strengthening their bonds, and strengthening protection factors that affect and not only on prevention of anti-drug prevention, but also crime and violent behavior. So the idea here is to work not only the alcohol and drug issue during youth, but a more comprehensive scope of prevention. So we began, well, I talked about it before. This year we have 2,500 young people in Rio and Salvador. We also are looking into prevention in more violent territories. So we are working with 163 municipalities. We wish to achieve more, expand that to more, but we are starting with 163 municipalities, which in these municipalities, they respond to 50% of violent deaths in the country. So in Pronasi, we are focusing prevention as a first step. We are focusing on these municipalities so that we can have a more global impact on the violence scenario. This is another program. I spoke about CRIA, which is Prevention Citizenship. Now I'd like to talk about Gente, which is at the center of anti-drugs policy of the federal government. Here we are talking about social reinsertion and access to rights. So these are a series of training courses. One of the axes is to strengthen anti-drug policies together with councils. The idea is to strengthen our bonds with state and city council, anti-drug councils. We have here one coordinator, one representative of SENAGE in each state, which is a way to get closer to the states, since we have this focal point of SENAGE in the states, so that we can make it easier to make a diagnosis in that state and also dialogue with that state. So the idea of these diagnoses, because one of the difficulties that we have mentioned here is the intersectoral relationship in anti-drug policies, which is a clear demand, and think about the complexity of these anti-drug policies. We must have a combined action of different actors. But the big challenge here is to coordinate these actions and coordinate and harmonize that flow. Someone gave the example of the canoe, right? You, Felicio. It's a very good example. How are we going to integrate different policies? And one of the axes of these coordinators in the states is to understand where these flows are not working well and help states, help diagnosing, and help local studies, and to rebuild flows and diagnose and where things are not working well and which are the biggest opportunities. We understand that there's a large variety of offers a state can have in relation to anti-drug policies, and in some states, in some places, there is more demand for one type of service, or they lack one specific service, and then we can give more support. We then can give more support in relation to that, and to conduct this analysis, this flow analysis, and support cities and states to build and rebuild public anti-drug policies. So these are a series of trainings. I'd like to mention a training that we have been creating in partnership with cities. Next. These are the axes of the program. Next. Now we are talking about the idea of intersectoral approaches. We are establishing partnership with the public defender's office as well. We know that our audience are people who have been whose rights have been violated. They do not have access to their rights, so we have been working very closely to the public defender's offices so that they become part more actively with these programs. And we know often that homeless people, very often they have already been in the prison system, so they do not have proper documents because they might be in a difficult situation with the judicial legal system, or they need guidance to be able to get their documents, to be able to be included in some sort of assistance program. So we need all the institutions working well and in dialogue with one another. We have been working with SENASP, working with police officers who are at the front line, who face difficult situations, and people who are trained to be strong and not asking for help. And they also face many mental health issues. So, or maybe when they have an issue with substance abuse, it's difficult for them to talk about that. So we have this program, so thinking about mental health and abuse of substances focused on police officers. So here we have been working a lot with the homeless population. We've been working. This is the program Visible Streets from the federal government. I'd like to highlight this training that we do together with cities. I say together because this program is being developed in a series of workshops that we have put in dialogue managers, city guards, professionals of different services network, and also leaderships of the people who live on the streets. They have their leaders, and we put everyone in dialogue to understand their different views, the problems they face, and how we can create a training course that really is based on the concrete problems that people face and based on an experience of exchanging views. So to have the policeman understanding the side of the homeless person and the manager's side, and etc. So we do that in partnership with the city halls, and city halls offer that training to their police guards. So we intend to expand that to other police authorities, agents, officers. We know that dealing with homeless people is demanding. The situations are very complex, and the professional cannot be left alone at no way in view of that situation. Professionals must have tools to know where to refer these people to, protocols to approach these people. So there are a series of services that can help those police officers who are at the front line dealing directly with homeless people, which is a very challenging situation. And we are working with policies that aim at reducing vulnerabilities. So when we mentioned that we have 2 states that have programs that are very successful, and for these policies of a community and territorial approach, which is the Braços Abertos. Oh, I'm sorry, no, Braços Abertos was a past program. So many hugs. I mean, we talk about, our themes always generate this reference, hugs and welcoming the person, which is attitude program, and warm hug from Bahia and Pernambuco. We are supporting some programs that already exist and that work on vulnerability reduction policies, and also creating some organizations. We have just started a public notice, and We at the government, the federal government, we also have many lessons that we have learned from civil society as well. We talked a lot about the importance of partnership, private partnership with the public partnership, and the state, the government working with civil society, because civil society has a lot of experience and has dedicated itself years and years to that, to develop methodologies to cater to the people who are substance users, and we are going to launch a public notice, which is a center of access of rights and social inclusion, which is near that narrative that we need a door. Just as Felicio said, we need an entrance door. And often that public is a public that it's difficult to access them. So we need to have policies and supports to make it easy, that entrance door, and also to refer these people to the service network. And we believe in the idea that we have to when we meet people who are drug users, they are usually these users, this audience is usually how they feel in relation to these services, how we can use these moments in which we meet them, in which the government and the user, in which they meet, so that we can refer them as the better way possible, the best way possible. And sometimes we know that people are already more strengthened and can start their treatment and a longer treatment and face abstinence. And we know that some people are not ready yet, and we must know how to help all these people in all these different phases of treatment. And can we have at that moment, and we meet them, how can we help them and try to solve some of their issues, some of their problems? We know that's a long path and a very difficult path. Sometimes people enter and leave these treatments and these services, and how can we bring them and how can we take care of them the best way possible? So we have this public notice here, and the idea is to start to, this is it's a fostering public notice. We have already, one of these services is already installed in the state of Ceará. Since we began, we are in the federal government, but the idea is to make this policy stronger so that we can strengthen our partnerships with civil society organization, state governments, city governments, and working with and based on a policy that aims at reducing vulnerabilities and foster citizenship. So I try to be very fast because I know that we are beyond our time here. I'm available to you if you want to talk to me after this roundtable, and in the afternoon I'll be here and I am at your disposal. And also at the federal government, I have my email. It's a public email. I access my email every day. If you want to reach me through email, please, we are at your disposal. Thank you very much.
So now I'm going to call Paulo to help me and open for questions, commentaries about the presentations. So we have a large overview of public policies. It was important, and thank our panelists. And Paulo has some things to tell us, some quick notes. Thank you, Gleuda. You conducted the best way possible. You are only 10 minutes late. You did very great. Thank you, Felicio, Marta, Claudia. Everything has been recorded, transmitted simultaneously, but it will also be on our YouTube in English, Portuguese, Spanish, so you can review it and watch it again. Some important quick notes. ICU, DDA, and IOC-CAD, or that is our international partners, are at their specific stands, and with an interpreter. Jacob is there to interpret, if you need to talk to them. So it's worth getting to know the plays they're doing throughout the world, and they want to work heavily here in Brazil. So I'll ask to each one of you go to these stands of our international partners. They brought several things also in terms of experiences. So go to these places. On this brochure, we have the parallel events. Don't forget that. So you can take a look at the brochure and look at these events. We'll have a break until 2:30. That is, we have 2 hours to, have lunch without rushing. The brochure, we have our associate restaurants that we made some partnerships with them. And the opening is tense, but then we get relaxed. Thank you so much.